All right, welcome to Record of Gaia Campaign 2, the final one-on-one session for this group going through this world. I'm Alex, the DM for this group as well, and who is the player that is playing today?
Hey, hi, I'm Gabe. I'm playing Maren Wisewind as
Awesome,
a human druid.
awesome sauce. Well, we will get the intro music going, and once that is completed, we will kick it off. Let me find where it is on here. Where is it? There it is. All right. So, waking up this morning, Marin, you. Oh no, hold on. Wrong button. Waking up this morning, you find yourself. Jesus, there we go. You find yourself surrounded by nature and other small critters. Um, these critters are starting their day a little bit louder than you would prefer. Today, they just all seem to want to wake up and make as much noise as possible compared to your last few days here. Um, you find the ground and the area that you're waking up on today a little bit drier than it has been since you arrived here about a week ago. You made your travels with one other companion from your what's now left of your rejuvenated homeland, and then you guys kind of parted ways for a while. And you find yourself here in this kind of open meadowy glade of this forest, about a week's travel from there. And it's been, for the first few days, it was moist and rainy, and as you would expect a forest and a glade and meadow to be. But these last few days, it has gotten exponentially drier. Not so much like a desert, but there's been no rain, there's been no real moisture in the air, which is kind of strange. Um, but as the rays of the morning sun finally reach your eyelids and the very light breeze crosses your flesh, what does your morning routine look like today?
All right, I will. You know, do I sleep on anything? Do I like
Yeah, I
sleeping
mean,
at den or just on
yeah,
the ground?
if it's up to you. You have your camping equipment with you. You can sleep on a bedroll. You can sleep on the grass. You can sleep on a tree root if you want to. It's really up to you.
Okay, so kind of as typical, he is covered under a pile of leaf that, and then that's where he put under his bedroll underneath. So his wake up him wake him up is basically him get up, sit up, and there are a bunch of leaves falling off from him. He kind of brush those off, and um, am I going somewhere or am I just staying here for now?
You've just kind of been camping here for a few days, kind of about a week at this point, kind of trying to figure out what your next direction of what your next plan is going to be. You have an idea of kind of the general places that you need to go to kind of seek out your parent, kind of where they have been in the past. So you have ideas of where you could go. You've just kind of been kind of biding some time, kind of trying to figure out the exact details of your plan, kind of where you want to go, in what order you want to go to these places, kind of what's
Gotcha.
what's your target, like where you're trying to. I mean, kind of just exploring and self-reflecting a lot, and kind of reminiscing of the past and what happened to your home and kind of what's been going on. Like kind of just taking in nature and kind of just being with yourself and kind of trying to move forward in a way.
Okay. So then since I know this side pretty well at this fairly well at this point, I will walk I will move my token towards the dead tree,
Okay.
grab a knife, chop off um some branches, and kind of went back under the tree and snap my finger, use produce frame to make a little bit small pile of bonfire. And I will start brew some water and trying to make a cup of tea.
Okay. As you're spending the next little bit of time kind of making a cup of tea and sitting by the fire and just kind of taking in this warmer than normal morning, you see that some of the embers from this fire kind of flick off, and as they do, they kind of float off and kind of disappear and turn into just small little ashes in the air and kind of fade into nothing and don't really do much. But as you're kind of staring into the fire for a moment, you see that a couple of the embers kick up into the air and kind of catch. And as they fall to the ground, you see that they start to burn a little patch on this dry earth around you. And it doesn't seem like it's growing out of control. It seems very controlled, almost like the fire itself has a mind of its own, and it kind of sits and grows just a little bit vertically. And as you stare at it for a few seconds, you see that it forms this kind of like small fiery shape, and it just starts. This little fire spirit is kind of formed out of your campfire, and it stares at the fire, and it kind of stares at you, and then it kind of just dances around a little bit, and then it goes back to standing about as far as from you now, just kind of staring at you.
Um, I gonna try to figure out how druid craft really work.
Okay.
Um, oh, okay. So yeah, I will kind of. Is it like this far away from me, like 15 feet away from me,
Yeah,
or it
it's
like
only about 10 feet away. It's just
okay?
kind of standing there on the ground. Sometimes it hovers a little bit. Sometimes it'll fall back down, but it never seems to be more than, because it's pretty small. It's about 2 feet tall. Sometimes it'll float to up about the eye level with you, but this far, and then float back down and kind of hop around and float up and down. Then it just stops and stares.
Um, Gotcha. Can I walk towards it and kind of be like try to touch it ish?
Yeah, 100%.
Um, I will get to here
Hmm.
and with Druidcraft I can make a small breeze apparently, puff of wind.
Yeah.
And I was just trying to make a puff of wind and see.
As you make a puff of wind in its general direction, its head kind of turns, and it's almost like as the wind's coming at it, you see a bit of its shoulder kind of blow out for a second, and then it regrows with the flame just kind of taking back its shape. And it looks at you, kind of stares a little deeper, and then says, "Are you ready to become a true druid? Or are you still reflecting on what you want your future to be?"
I don't know when I will be. So that's not me answering. I don't know when I will be really ready to be a druid. I mean, I really didn't choose to be one, and now I'm here, knowing what I know, and try to move forward with life.
Hmm. Well, you have the power of the elements inside of you. Would you like me to show you how to control them? Or at least one of them?
Yeah, sure, it's never gonna hurt, right?
They kind of nod. Um, they kind of dance around you in a circle. And you can feel the heat from their body emanating, just kind of warming the circle around you. And you see that at this point they've kind of like carved a small little flaming circle in the ground, not enough where it like brings a ring of fire around you, but it's almost like they've just left like a ring of embers and coals slightly burning in a circle around you, not to cause harm to you or anything like that, just kind of their way to kind of mark this area. And they look at you once more and say, well, if you're ready, I will take you and show you how to begin to master the wildfire of nature in the human soul. And they hold out their small flaming little hand as if to take you by yours.
Um. Okay, so does okay? I don't think Druidcraft allows me to have a puff of fire in my hand.
No, but produce flame does. You can hold that flame.
Okay, I will produce flame and try to catch the fire with fire, I guess.
Yeah. As you produce this flame and kind of hold this burning, I like to imagine it's like the flame on top of a match, but just the size of a baseball, in your hand. As you're holding this small fireball in your hand, this little fire elemental reaches out and kind of joins with it, and then you feel yourself engulfed in your flame as your produced flame kind of enlarges and encompasses both you and this small little elemental being. No pain, no nothing like that, but you feel your eyes roll back, and then you feel like you are transported to a version of this forest, but it has been destroyed and what you can believe to be uncontrolled fire. It doesn't look like what you've seen in the past. Doesn't look like it was destroyed by volcanoes or lava or war or anything like that. It looks like just the ravaging of wildfire of the plane kind of took its toll on this region, whether that was caused by someone of magical nature or just nature itself. Um, they look around with you and they say, "How do you feel now that you've arrived?"
Um, what did you do? Like, I didn't do this. I mean, I feel great, but looking at this, it's terrifying.
This is
And
this is but one of the many one of the many results of the wildfire and not learning to control it. This is one of the many potential futures that could await you if you don't control that burning power inside of you.
um, so how do I control it? And by the way, who are you? By the which I totally forgot to ask.
um, my name my name is Lalium. Let me actually see if you can see this here, because I don't think you can. There.
Oh,
There we
I
go.
got it.
Yeah, I just forgot to click the right button. I am Lalim. I am the fire elemental that protects the forest where you've been staying. This is my most friendly form. But this, surrounding you, as they kind of wave their flaming arms kind of everywhere, this is one of the many futures that awaits those who have the soul of fire but choose to either walk the path of destruction or let it consume them or just not learn to control it. But I will show you the beginnings of control. I see that you know the base magics of druids. Hold out your hands, please.
I hope I, put my hand forward and without really using any spell this time.
They produce a few seeds and kind of drop them into your hands and say, utilize the warmth of your soul to bring life to these seeds, indicating that they wish for you to sprout them. using Druidcraft.
Sure. And so therefore I cast Druidcraft, and I will have,
Mm.
kind of imagine a flower blooming.
Yeah. As you bloom these flowers from these seeds that they place in your hands, this is the power of birth and healing and regeneration from the fire within your soul. Now I wish for you to destroy them to show the other side of this coin. Produce the flame once more and end these flowers' lives.
Um, okay. I hesitate a bit, and then I cast Produce Flame, and hold a little baseball fire in my hand.
As you cast Produce Flame in your hands, you see that the flowers that you bloomed but a few seconds ago burn to ash within your hands. And the ash kind of, a breeze picks them up and sails them away. You can also use the power of the elements within you to protect you. And I would encourage you to do so now. And they kind of step back and they open their mouth and they spray a bunch of fire at you. And you know from the capabilities that you have that as this fire is burning, starting to actually do damage and burn you, you have the ability to protect yourself from it. And you feel this yearning inside of you to almost absorb this energy.
Would I be able to let let it absorb?
Yep, you can go ahead and cast Absorb Elements.
Oh, okay. That's what I mean. What you
Yes.
mean.
You absorb, you get resistance to it, and you absorb all this flame damage. Enough where, for the purposes of this, you don't take any damage. And they kind of look at you and nod. And then they point to over here. And as they're pointing over there, they go on to describe the ability of your magic from deep inside can also be used to light your way. You can use it in a non-damaging fashion to light up your foes, light up your friends, and to light up objects to give you this glow. Do you know of the magic of which I speak? You can go ahead and roll me either any type of wisdom skill or just wisdom itself as a check, whatever one you wish to use.
Wisdom, eh?
Mhm.
Survival, I guess.
Yeah, that works.
Okay. Did it come
20.
through?
Yeah, it did 20. You as you're thinking about it, you know that there is a magical spell that you have that is fire based but doesn't actually do any fire damage in fairy fire, and you know that it can light up an area and it will light up objects or light up creatures and enemies, as well as allies if you were to cast it on them or them be in that space. And they encourage you to utilize that inner fairy fire and cast that magic.
So they kind of just tell me to cast Fairy Fire in this case.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Oops. You can ignore that. I don't know why that showed up. Bam.
That is all of my spell slot. Just saying.
Yes, yes, you're good. Yeah, so it basically ends up looking like a big old square. Not that big. It's like that big-ish. This map's not right, or else it would say that it's all that, and it's not that huge. Good, good. Do you understand the different capabilities of the element of fire in both support, protection, birth, destruction. It's the power that and responsibility that comes with this element.
Yeah, I mean, I get to either make a cup of tea, or I either get to, or we get these, which I point kind of the surrounding area right now.
Mm. So, do you have questions regarding the wildfire?
Uh, I mean, I don't right now, but if I do have question, can I come back to you in the future?
You can focus and you can meditate on the natural world in flame, and eventually you'll receive an answer through immediate response or through signs and symbols in the world, as is with most druids. Looking deep into your past, into your soul, I can see that you have an intimate relationship with the destructive power of the destructive force of the flame. I'm sorry that you had to live through that, but I see that you revisited the site and you can see what has come from it. Destruction can lead to rebirth, and in saying rebirth, they bring you back here, back to the meadow.
Okay, and he's still there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're both here. They kind of just stare at you for a few minutes without saying anything. Your morning fire still in place, your tea still, the remnants of your tea still boiling.
Okay, I'm gonna actually walk back and get a cup of tea, and I mean, I'm not gonna try to offer it to the spirit just
Yeah,
because.
yeah. I mean, that makes sense.
Um, shall I keep going then?
Mm.
Keep going to my journey.
Yes. Do you know the next destination for your journey?
I have absolutely no idea, but I know roughly maybe, but where it is
Mm.
gonna be, I have no idea.
You see, they kind of step back for a second, and almost like a flaming cyclone, you see it. They get very, very large, and almost engulf the whole space around you in flame. And this almost like it's putting on. You know how sometimes in different movies and shows, if there are fires, people make like shadow puppet shows using the flames onto like backdrops and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Think of that, but you're seeing a show like within the flaming cyclone that Lalim is making. That's the best way I can kind of describe it. As you're kind of staring into this flaming, spinning cyclone, it's very warm. It's very hot, but you see that the area around the cyclone itself doesn't seem to be taking damage or any type of negative reaction to this. If anything, you see the bushes and the trees kind of starting to sprout and grow even more. The bushes become a little thicker. The leaves grow a little faster. The roots kind of get a little hardier. The air gets a little more arid as it kind of dries even more of the moisture out. But as you're kind of staring into this spinning, flaming, infernal cyclone, you see walking from seemingly two very different directions, two different creatures heading for the same city's skyline. You don't recognize either of these creatures. They're faint outlines of them. There are no real detailed aesthetics of them.
Humanoid in
Um,
general, or
they
like
one looks to be a humanoid, about normal humanoid size and height. The other one looks to be humanoid shape, but larger, maybe 6, 7, 8 feet tall, perhaps. They just comparing them, one looks much larger than the other in both height and breadth, and they seem to be a lot more clumsy in their travels, whereas the smaller one seems to be a lot more weary of their surroundings, and they seem to be looking at a book constantly and reading, and writing and continuously looking up and talking to their books and things like that.
And
And
they are, sorry, they are not like, do they look like they're traveling together or they are like kind of heading in from different direction?
they seem to be heading from different directions, but
Okay.
traveling towards like the same point.
Mm.
So if you were to look on this map, for example, you would see one coming from say over here, and then one coming over here, ending at the same kind of goal. They
Okay.
seem to be heading in the same general direction. And then you see, almost like from yourself, your shadow almost walks away from the ground and kind of walks into the flaming cyclone and kind of joins. As it joins the cyclone, it stands up into like this flaming shape, kind of walks in the same general direction as these other two, as if all three of these figures are meant to intersect at some place, wherever this place may be. And as you're kind of staring at this, kind of just being entranced by the flame, you see that this cyclone dies back down, and Lalim comes back to their um, small little cute flaming shape. I believe these are those that you need to help with your journey. Um,
They don't look like
they
my family member, but I think that
no,
I will look out for them.
I believe they. I believe you all know you're looking for someone or someone's, but you don't know who you're looking for. But you're all destined to meet in the same place. Um, and this place is Swazu in the Principality of Fey. And so you know, because you know the world to a general point. So the way the world is set up, the Twilight Lands is like the Shadowfell-esque area. The Zephlax Empire is what would effectively be like the Prime Material Plane area, where you see a lot of your human races, your not exotic races per se. There are some Goliaths and some giants that live here. There are people from all over that live here, but the primary populace is that of like humans and humanoids and some goblinoids and things like that. The Principality of Fey is more of what you would imagine when you think of the Fey realm, full of whimsy and magic. And Vasquet is very, very mysterious. You don't necessarily know what's there. People go there and they don't really come back, and people don't really leave there. You've never necessarily met anyone from there. Um, but I'll tell you that your homeland is on this little, where you're from, is this little island right here.
Oh, okay.
Yep, so that's where everything that went down with you, that's where it happened. And you at this point have traveled about a week from there to where you currently are. And you're pretty much between the X and the E in that general
Oh,
area, just to make it easier for a map reference. So that's
and
about where you are.
okay. And
And
this is the capital of the Feyland.
so the Principality of Fey, the Swazu is just a town that's in there.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
yeah, you know it's not the capital. You don't necessarily know what the capital is. You've never been there.
Mm.
You've heard of all of the regions, but you've mainly stayed in your homeland or the main Zephlax Empire. People typically don't travel to the other regions unless they have a reason to go to the other regions, and normally those reasons include things like government rationales or military might or traveling merchants that want to see something new or adventurers. So the normal person without any real reason, just it's a long, arduous, dangerous journey to get to any of those places, and you might not make it there. You might not come back. So most people just don't do that. But
Gotcha.
they Lalium says, Swazu, that's where I believe you need to go. That will increase your chances of finding the person you're looking for, as this is. And as you kind of think about the name of Swazu for a minute,
Mhm.
you remember this is one of the towns on the list of places that your parent had been to. There was
Okay.
not a lot written about it. It was just kind of mentioned in passing that, hey, we stopped here, got some supplies, and then moved on. But maybe I'll go back one day. But they spent a couple of days here kind of resupplying and resting and kind of moving on to the next place that they were going. So not a whole lot written about it, positive or negative, but it's a place that they've been. There might be some more information for you there. Um, but it's a long journey. It's about a week to 10 days, depending on weather. I gift you this, and they kind of throw what looks to be like a very, very large produce flame about the size of an inflatable beach ball at you, and as it hits the ground, it kind of
Yeah.
the flame goes out, and you see in front of you now is a traveling backpack. It's got traveling gear. You can put all your camping stuff in there. It's got, as you kind of shuffle through, there are 2 standard healing potions, 10 additional days of rations for you, a full healer's kit, as they know, based on looking deep into your soul and kind of your past and your history and things you've done, kind of the direction that you're going, that a healer's kit will be used by you quite well. A map, so you can see all the regions officially. And on that map, you see there's an X in the Principality of Fey, where Swazu is located, and there's the quickest route that they have marked on there, but you can see there are many other routes to get there. It just depends on which way you want to go. It basically takes you across the official border crossing to get there. And you also see inside of there, there is a red glowing sickle, and you feel drawn to this, and as you're kind of looking at it and you pull it out and you hold it, it feels warm to the touch, not like painfully warm or anything. It just feels like it has this kind of warmth radiating from it. And as you look at it, Lalim says, "This is my gift to you. Comes from my home of the fire plane, and I believe that it will aid you in your journey. It will provide warmth to a point. It will provide light out to a distance. And as you look into the pack and kind of look at this, if you look in your inventory, you might have to refresh, but there is a +1 flame soul sickle in there, which is a orange bladed sickle that glows with some firelight, again slightly warm to the touch but not enough to burn you. +1 bonus to attack and damage, +1 to your spell attack rolls and saving throws, and then anytime you cast spells, because you can use it as a focus, anytime you cast a healing spell, you get to roll a d4 and add that to the number of hit points that you restored. So it does a few different things.
Do I know how big it is? Like, is it like a staff length, or is it just like a sickle size?
It's just a sickle. You can make it as big as you want, but mechanically it's still the size of, it still has all the benefits of just a regular sickle size. But if you want it to be longer than that, if you want to take like a quarter staff, or if you want to take like a larger like staff type of piece of wood that you find and rope it all together and make almost like a big old sickle, you can do that. And if you did that, the flames radiating from the sickle itself would kind of engulf a little bit the staff that you attach to it. Wouldn't damage it, wouldn't destroy it, but it would make it all one big thing. So if for aesthetics that's what you want it to be, go for it. So, or however you want it to look.
I may try to look for like a more proper method of making that in a bigger piece, instead of trying to just find a piece of branch and connect them together.
Yeah.
But yeah, ideally I'll make it a little bit long. This is sick.
Yeah. I did kind of think that if you found like an immovable rod or something similar later, you could fuse that to it, because I think that would be cool and fun. But yes, you can fuse stuff and build stuff out however you want it to be later on. While I have you here, while I do encourage you to leave and head that way sooner rather than later, I fear the weather will turn. Let me.
He point the direction.
Yes, they kind of point off this way, and
Okay.
you look at the map, and this will basically curve you out of this little glade, and then it will eventually curve you a little bit more northeast. You got to go southeast a little bit to get out of here, and then back up to the main road, up to the northeast. There's like one big, almost like a sickle curve from one up to the other.
Gotcha.
And they say, let me show you how to call on the power of the plane of fire if you so choose. Or you can learn on your own. That choice is yours. What do you think?
And if it's gonna help my journey, I am all about it.
Okay. So they they look at you and they say, close your eyes and focus and think about the flames of your past, the destructive power of fire that I have shown you, that of which you have seen myself, the ability of fire to harm, to heal, to protect, to guide, and think about shaping it into an embodiment of fire, however you wish it to be shaped. Think of it almost like a flaming familiar in a way.
So I close my eye, and very the kind of the few things that pass by immediately as he described those things are just fire, like lava falling from the sky, which was basically remind me when my home got destroyed back in the day. So there's like just molten rock, and then there's like forest on fires, and then there is the forest on fire that he showed me earlier, and then there's like ember kind of popping off, like what when he was appearing, when he showed up, like how the ember you describe the ember kind of pop up and jump around. So there's some of those, and then there's the fire
Mm.
spirit itself,
Yeah.
and that's kind of the stuff that passed by. Mm.
As you kind of focus on all of these things, you see the morning fire, which was still kind of burning near you. All of the embers kind of flicker off and start to coalesce in the air, eventually landing on the ground in this small pile of burning ember and ash. And you see rising from this pile of burning ember and ash, this small little fire elemental pops up and kind of looks at you inquisitively and floats on over to you, climbs up your back, around your shoulders, kind of sits on your head for a second, then hops down. No burning, no pain, and looks at you, kind of nods, and kind of then bows, and then fades away. Aleem looks at you and says, you can use your druidic power and abilities to summon now your flaming companion whenever you need. Just know that they don't last forever and they can be destroyed, but they can be used in a multitude of ways, whether that's destruction, protection, support. However you wish to use them, they will be nothing but a boon to you. Just don't let them go out of control, because regaining control of flames is nigh impossible. But
Yeah.
with that, unless there's anything else you wish for me to teach you, I will be on my way.
Well, thank you.
Absolutely.
If I have more questions, I will get back to you. Yeah, pray.
Yes. You
That's
can
not how I
always
say it, but that's how it comes across.
you can always light a fire, focus on the fire, and just trust that your thoughts and feelings will make their way to me. and you'll eventually get a response. So, but with
Are
that,
there?
hmm,
Sorry, I don't know if you mind
hmm,
me asking another question.
go for it. Absolutely.
Are there more of you, or you are the only one?
Oh, I am one of but many. There are many, many of us, um, and we all we are all pieces of but one larger being. And when we join together, we form the truest version of ourselves. So,
Stewart.
mm. But we
Um.
will be watching.
Okay.
Is there anything else you wish to ask or to know from Lalim?
Uh. I guess it's gonna be a very obvious but dumb question, but it makes sense for the character. Are
Mm-hmm.
there more people like me around in the world?
Do you mean druids, or do you mean humans, or do you mean those that control
Like
fire?
controlling fire,
Oh, yes, there
the
are.
kind.
Yes. They don't always take the path of righteousness. They don't always take the path of evil. Sometimes they're those good people who do bad things, and bad people who do good things, and some people, you know, use the fire for different reasons. But yes, there are other users of natural wildfire like yourself.
Gotcha. Well, thank you.
Mm.
And I kind of actually take a bow, which for him he rarely do.
Yeah.
So
They Lalim bows as well, and you see that they walk up to the fire that you have made, and they kind of stare at it and they hold out their hands. And as they kind of hold out their hands, you see that their form kind of joins with the flickering flames of this morning fire, and it bursts up like if you were to throw gasoline on a fire really quickly, and it burns really hot for about 3 seconds, where it's almost enough that it starts to actually hurt, but then it fades back down to normal. And with that, you hear in your head from Lalim, I would I would get going if I were you, and be sure to put out this fire before you leave, as we don't want to turn this meadow into the one that I showed you. But, you know, enjoy your breakfast.
yeah, I was gonna ask. Like I was like, I want to put out the fire if you don't mind.
Yes, yes, yes.
Um.
Yeah.
So yeah, I kind of go back and you know try to
Mm.
get rid of the fire.
Oh yeah, you can put it
Finish my
out very
tea, get rid
easily.
of fire.
Druidcraft
Uh,
just you can snap Druidcraft and it lights and turns it starts and ends fires. Druidcraft does so.
is it pretty much just a different version of thaumaturgy and
Um,
prestidigitation
it
almost?
is the druid version of it where you can
Okay.
basically predict weather, you can make little natural effects, you can make things bloom, and you can light and snuff out a candle, a torch, or a small campfire. So it does similar things, but they're all three different enough that they all have their own unique thing. Like you can't clean stuff with Druidcraft, whereas you can with Prestidigitation, and Druidcraft and Prestidigitation don't let you change the color of your eyes or make your voice boom and your windows close, things like that. So this is
Okay.
more of like you could do natural things. Prestidigitation lets you do like more wizardy arcane thingies, and then Thaumaturgy is more of like if you're trying to be more charismatic about using your little cantrip for that. So
Um, and you say I can predict weather, which I should probably already know. So I kind of
yes.
attempt to
Hmm.
predict the weather for the next 24 hours at where I am.
Yeah,
See what's up.
as you create a little effect, you see that the thing that produces first is like a small little sun, and then it very quickly you see some that sun kind of morphs into like this dark gray clouds with a few flashes of light in it. But as you watch it, you see that it lasts. I would say that it lasts about 4 rounds, indicating that it's. I would say it lasts a minute. So after about like 24 seconds, I guess, a second for each hour. So after about 8 seconds, you see that the sun changes into like that dark cloud, and about an hour, a second after that, you see some lightning flash behind it, and then it disappears, and it stays like that for the remainder of the 24 seconds. So you imagine that in about 8 hours, it's going to start storming in this area. So
Okay. Um, in this case, I will kind of pack everything that I have laying around, um, and I guess put the sickle belt, put it on my belt, and just I still have my quarterstaff and my scimitar, so I'm
Yeah.
just gonna keep the quarterstaff and use it as a crane and just start
Okay.
charging towards the direction that he's
Yeah.
telling me.
Absolutely. As you start to make your way that way, you know that you have about just under 10 days, depending on weather, to get to Swazu, or at least close to it. Um, but with that, you spend the next few days kind of traveling, doing anything that you wish to on the way. Nothing too drastic will happen before you arrive there, but you will level up to level 2, and by the time that we arrive or you arrive to where you're going, it will be the beginning of the official start of the campaign. So with that, we'll end this recording. We'll get you leveled up to level 2, just do a
Start
couple
doing.
thingies, and we'll get you going. So
Okay.